This is The Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
Stay off the weed.
Good morning, Tuscaloosa. Good morning, Tuscaloosa, Internet world, West Alabama. How are we doing today on a Friday? It's game day. It is the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central, BamaCentral.com. Hope you and yours are doing well. You're watching us on the Bama Central YouTube channel, on the Bama Central Facebook page. There's been tons and tons and tons of content on both those platforms over the last couple of days as we have been in the United Center yesterday. We're traveling up to Chicago for the Sweet 16, so make sure you check us out on the Bama Central YouTube channel. You're also listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. You can find the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. You can see it. We're not in the Derek Daniel State Farm Studios today. We are in the hotel getting ready for tonight's matchup between Alabama and Michigan. So we're going to be heading over to the United Center here in just a little while today. But we're going to talk about the game one last time with our friends Theo Fernandez and Hunter DeCyver. Everett, you asked, we shall deliver. Everett says we want to get Hunter's perspective on here pretty soon, so we made it happen for you, Everett. And plus, it might be the last basketball game of the year. We need to have Bama Central's basketball writer, Hunter DeCyver, on the program to break it down. Follow him at Hunter DeCyver on the Twitter machine. Of course, you all follow Theo Fernandez at Theo Fernandez _. Myself at Joe Gaither 6. And you find our lead sponsor, Purple Turtle Roofing, at roofturtle.com. So we appreciate Purple Turtle Roofing for sponsoring the program. They can help you out with all of your roofing needs, whether it be a metal roof or a shingle roof. They can take care of you. Visit them online today at roofturtle.com. Let's have a lot of fun today. We're going to talk about Yaxel Lendeborg, the liar. Yaxel the liar Lendeborg. We're going to talk about Aden Holloway. Is he going to be on a flight to Chicago today? I want to get Hunter's perspective on some of the questions I threw at Theo yesterday about how do you guard the three guys in the front court for Michigan. Is there a path for Alabama victory? And then we will predict the game tonight. So that sounds like the game plan. Theo, you look great today. We miss you. How are you? Good morning.
I'm doing great. It's been just holding down the fort here in Tuscaloosa, right? Running everything. It's been a good time. Miss you guys. Wish I was in Chicago, but having a fun time here.
Well, I don't mean to throw you on the spot, but are you going over to the football facility in 2 hours to talk to Coach DeBoer?
Yeah, me and Henry have all that covered, so we're gonna get all the content from DeBoer and have a fun time. It'll be fun. I'll probably ask him like 4 questions with nobody there.
Yeah, it'll be you and Henry having a 2-on-1 interview with Coach DeBoer. That sounds perfect.
There we go.
You can see that on the Bama Central YouTube channel as well. And we're hanging out here with Hunter DeCyver. Hunter already up and at 'em this morning with an Aden Holloway story as more developments have happened in the Star Guards case. Good morning, Hunter. Thank you for your time. Maybe say hello to Everett. How are you? How's the trip going?
All right, yeah, I'm happy to be back. It's been a while. How's it going, Everett? Glad you're a huge fan of me. That makes me super happy. But I mean, why do we have to have some sort of breaking news every single morning regarding Alabama basketball? Like, I'm in bed. I'm about to go get breakfast. I have a feature that went out this morning that I was about to post on my own social media. I was really a second away from publishing, and then I see all this Holloway stuff, and I'm like, great. So it's definitely going to be the topic of conversation today as to whether or not he'll play.
Perfect. Why don't you lead us right into
Sure.
the story you've just wrote and what it means for tonight, what it might not mean for tonight. Just kind of kick the ball off with this Aden Holloway development today.
Yeah. So Holloway's lawyer named Jason Neff, he requested to the judge that Holloway can travel out of state, inciting that he could travel to Chicago without saying, let him go to the Sweet 16. And it got approved. I was kind of surprised that happened when I saw that this morning. And is he going to play? Is he not going to play? I mean, he hasn't practiced with the team since he's been suspended. I mean, actually, I don't know that for sure, but at least in Tampa, he was not there. In Chicago, he has not been here yet. And they had a practice yesterday. So I'm not sure if he's going to play. I think you do. I'm not sure if Theo does, but I think it's kind of a toss-up.
Yeah, so I'll just let you lead it. What do you think we will see him tonight? Because I'll give my opinion, and then we'll get Theo's opinion as well. But Jason F. Giving basically, and the Tuscaloosa court. I think it's Daniel Pruitt, right? Judge Daniel Pruitt.
For this one, it's Joanne Janik or something
Okay,
like that.
yes, you're right. I didn't have that right. But basically, he's been granted a waiver to travel out of state, and the presumption is that he's going to be making his way to Chicago today. So, Hunter, will we see number 2 taking shots in this game tonight?
All right. First of all,
it's a guess. It's solely
yeah,
a guess.
I know. Yeah. First of all, the SEC 2 years ago came out with this thing called the availability report, and they release it the day before the game as an initial report, and then 2 hours before the game they do the final. Holloway was listed as out in the initial report, but then last night this request comes into the court and they approve it this morning. I mean, I've done all these availability report articles over the last 2 years for both football and basketball, and I've never seen someone that was out one day be available the next. This is obviously an extraordinary circumstance, but I don't know if I see him playing tonight with everything going around.
I think that's a good point, and one that I didn't consider in my initial guess before we got started. We were kind of talking about this right before we hit go. My gut feeling says he will play tonight. My gut feeling says that this is going to be pretty similar to the Nick Pringle situation, where Nick Pringle flew to the tournament site commercial and made it and was available and participated for the Crimson Tide pretty early. I think he had some sort of team rules violation. It wasn't a legal situation at that point. It was more of a team rules situation where I think he might have got an argument with a coach or something to that effect. Nothing crazy. But he flew to the tournament site himself. I think that Aden Holloway will be flying to Chicago today at minimum. I would bet a decent amount of money on at least that he will fly to Chicago today. The availability report does create a little bit of doubt, because that availability report, Hunter, from my perspective, is really about the gamblers, about making sure the gamblers know who's going to play and who's not going to play. And of course, things can change, but they may be sticklers. I have no idea. I have no idea what the punishment is for not lying on the availability report, but not having the exact information correct. Because obviously it's not a lie, because yesterday you did think he was probably going to be out. He was not allowed to travel out of state until this morning, about an hour ago. So that information is updated. But my gut feeling is that Aden Holloway will play. Now, he didn't go to Tampa, didn't practice there, but I imagine he was a part of the practices or around the practices, we should say that, this week in Tuscaloosa, as he's trying to figure out his situation. What it sounds like to me, Hunter, is that they were working with the judiciary, the discipline board with UA through the whole week. And it sounds like they kind of cleared that hurdle yesterday towards the end of the day, 5, 6, 7 o'clock, and said, okay, well, our next hurdle is getting a waiver to get out of state. And now that I guess that has been cleared this morning, I expect Aden to come off the bench this evening and play for Alabama. Theo, what do you think about this? You woke up and you kind of started our conversation before we got going pretty surprised.
Yeah, I did not see this coming right after all that. I thought, we'd kind of waved the white flag on Holloway playing. Yesterday's injury report is in no way binding. It has no impact on whether or not Holloway can play, which I was looking up the nuances of this and how this rule worked and all that. And I was like, well, why do they even put out this injury report, right? Because there is the only thing you really face is maybe some scrutiny if you put a guy on the injury report and then he plays. But yes, it is kind of designed for gamblers, right? That is the main reason it exists. But there is nothing stopping a team from saying, hey, we ruled you out, but things have changed. You're playing now. Now, if he's ruled out on the one that comes out 2 hours before tip, that is the official one. That's the one that matters. We're a long way from what time's the game start? 8:45 Central?
6:35.
Oh, I'm off on 6:35. So it's 4:30 Central is the first time we are going to find out when this guy plays or not.
What do you think, Theo? Because I said I think he will play. Hunter kind of says he doesn't think he's going to play. What do you think, Theo?
Break the tie.
The world where he does not play is a world where Nate Oates has this guy available, right? Has full approval to put him on the court and chooses not to. Does that sound like Nate Oates to anybody? That's not Nate Oates. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that he already has been cleared by the Office of Student Conduct because, quite frankly, why would you go out and even request to travel out of state, right, if you hadn't already been approved? And it's pure speculation. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they were just trying to submit everything at once, and maybe the Student Conduct Office hasn't approved him, and then that would, whatever, then he's not playing. I think he will at the very least be in Chicago today. And if I was betting right now, we will see Aden Holloway on the court against Michigan tonight.
All right, Theo. So we'll spin it. We'll go the same way, but opposite back around. If he plays, what's his production? Is he going 3 of 7 from beyond the 3-point line, or is it going to be an 0 of 9 stinker, and everybody's going to say you shouldn't have played him anyways? What kind of production would you expect out of Aden Holloway? Now before you answer this, Illinois is a recreational state for marijuana, so Aden may be either rising to the challenge, rising to the occasion, or not. Based on usage in the state of Illinois. Theo, predict Aden Holloway's stat line if he plays tonight.
Aden Holloway will be the first person to check into the game at about the 17-minute mark, and he will score above 15 points.
Oh, wow.
Joe, I love stories. That's the best part about sports. It's the reason I choose to go out and cover all this and why I've built my career around it. Look at this story. It is unreal. It is just like you take a step back and you look at how this must look from an outside perspective, and then also how it looks with the familiarity of the program that we have. It is an incredible story, and I think that it will get it'll get a satisfying conclusion as far as Aden Holloway going out and actually making. You talked a few weeks ago about what would it take for this move to be worth it, right? For Alabama getting Holloway on the court to be worth it. I think Holloway will deliver a performance that leaves no doubt about, this was worth it.
Oh, Theo, I love your perspective and your optimism, and I too love stories. I also think he's going to play tonight, but I think the story is going to go the exact other way. I just feel it in my I have two feelings in my gut. One, that Alabama finds a way to win, but then another that Holloway puts up a stinker. And if he puts up a stinker, Alabama's not going to win. So competing. Let me decipher my feelings here. I want to believe that Holloway is going to go 3 of 7 from the 3-point line, 3 of 6 from the 3-point line, get to the free throw line pretty well, no turnovers, 16 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, and you've put up a nice performance. But I also think the story is juicier if he goes 0 of 7 and has 2 points, is 2 of 10 from the field, and has a couple of turnovers, and the headlines just write themselves with stoned out of the NCAA tournament, and flames out of March Madness, and that all kinds of things that you could go with that. So, oh man,
no matter how this game unfolds, no matter what Holloway does, no matter how Alabama does as a team, if Holloway takes the court, it will be a defining moment in the tenure of Nate Oates.
Certainly.
It will be. This defines careers, right? This is something that sticks with the guy forever, for better or for worse. When you look at what is on the line tonight, from a legacy perspective, from a how is this guy remembered, even from a what do people remember about Alabama's 2026 season in 10, 15 years, it is this right here.
I mean, first off, you guys both say that if he does play, he comes off the bench, right?
Yeah.
He's not a starter?
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. If he does play, which I don't really think he will, that's not any expert insight or anything. It's just a gut feeling.
We're all guessing right now.
Yeah. I would say, yeah, he would probably come off the bench. I can't imagine he starts. That'd be crazy. And if he does play, I think his minutes will be limited. A, because of everything that's happening, and B, because he hasn't practiced with the team outside of maybe Tuscaloosa. Doesn't have all that chemistry there necessarily. He'll still play a good bit because he's Aden Holloway. He's one of the best players in the SEC. He's on the third team All SEC for a reason. He's the second leading scorer for Alabama. But I would say that he probably gets somewhere around, let's say, 20 minutes, maybe 22 minutes, 8 or 9 points, probably like 3 assists, a couple of rebounds and steals, something like that. Either way, I think if he were to play, I think he'd be a factor, but he just wouldn't be himself. He would act as that sixth man that he was last year. That was his role last year. He was the sixth man behind Mark Sears, while Mark and LeBaron ran the backcourt last year when LeBaron was a freshman. And I don't see a huge game from him, but regardless, it's going to be like the biggest story as to if he does play and how he does. I mean, whenever I sign the stories for tonight, I'll say if he's playing, I'm like, all right, you just write how he did. Like, that's just one story, and then you get quotes from after the game. And yeah, I don't think he'll be that big of a factor tonight if he plays. But if he does, it'll be a huge story.
Oh man, it's gonna be crazy.
So I jumped right off that, Hunter. I think you just argued for why Holloway will be a big factor, because we've talked this week about, well, maybe this offense looks different with LeBaron leading it, right? Maybe it unlocks certain things about LeBaron. If we are bringing Holloway in this late in the season, right now before this game, after being away from the team, he's coming back, like you said, and being similar a player to what he did last year. How many points did he score against BYU in the Sweet 16? 23 points, 6 of 13 from beyond the arc. We talked yesterday, me and Joe, about how basically we're looking at this game like, okay, that 25 3-point, the record that you set, that's the kind of performance you need against Michigan. This could realistically give the Crimson Tide the best of both worlds, right? It gives you LeBaron leading the offense, controlling the game, and, Holloway's going to come in and drain a bunch of threes. And he's just going to come out and shoot the lights out. And, hey, let's avoid further speculation, but don't you think this guy's probably pretty mentally focused right now, Holloway?
You'd hope so. After the 2 weeks that he's had, you'd hope that he has had a rougher 2-day stretch, and now is feeling mentally clear and focused and ready to go. So yeah, you'd hope so, Theo. I think that's not a bad point either. This is just such a dramatic end of the season. The season has been crazy.
Yeah.
Has been absolutely crazy, and it's hard to believe you're right here at the finish line when you think about, good fun transfer portal class last summer. You're like, great, these guys look interesting. There's some high-level skill. There's some raw talent. Who knows? And then it's, busted toe for Jaleel Bethea. Sick for Noah Williamson. It's just injury after injury. We can't get into fall camp very well. And up and down. You smash St. John's in the Garden. You beat Illinois up in the United Center. But you still are getting crushed in other, like, you lose at home. Like, it was just such a roller coaster. And then Ediako, welcome back from yesteryear. Like, it was just a crazy year. And so, like, think about going back to your point, your comment earlier, Theo, about stories. Like, it's already been a crazy year. What's the craziest storyline at this point? Yeah, I think I'm with you, Theo. It's him going 6 of 15 from the 3-point line, and Alabama knocking down the number one team in the country. Like, it'd be just too fitting to see Alabama upset number one Michigan and Holloway leading the charge tonight. Let's move forward just a little bit and say,
real
please.
quick, just one thing.
Please.
It'll be 2 seconds.
Please.
Just for both of you, an open-ended question. Do you think he should play?
Theo?
How do you
Should he be
define
allowed?
should?
Should
In
he be
what
allowed to
sense?
play?
From a pure ethical, legal, what at that
From
perspective?
an ethical and legal standpoint, should he be playing?
Ethics and legality are very low on the list of things that matter in college athletics. Been very low on the list for my entire life. Why shouldn't he play? It's the same perspective I had with the Charles Bediako situation, where you can say, oh, is this ruining college athletics? Is this unfair? You're telling me other teams wouldn't take advantage of that exact same situation? You can spend so much time debating about what's right, what's wrong, what should be done. What do people remember? Who won? Holloway gives you the better shot to win. Put him out on the court. That's who Nate Oates has been his whole career. It's not going to change, and I have no input. I'm not going to go out here and say it should change.
Yeah, I'm with you, Theo, in the sense that the potential crime that has been committed by Aden Holloway is not a violent natured crime, and it's still in a hypothetical situation. I'm really against violence in a major way, Hunter. Hey, it makes my skin crawl to think about it in any sort of direction. Hate it. But and while I do think that Aiden's decision was not smart, not very smart at all, you can't have that much weight. Like if that's what you choose to do, like you need to be smarter about it. You can debate with the wisdom of of having marijuana, of using marijuana. Absolutely, whatever your opinion is on that, you're right. It's fine. I don't want to push anyone off of their own opinion of that. But the fact of the matter is, it was a crime that really only impacted Aden, and everything else is hearsay. The crime is possession of marijuana. Everything else is hearsay, and the possession was an absurd amount. But then you look at the convoluted rules about laws about marijuana throughout the country. Obviously, different states see it differently, and in Alabama, they're staunchly against it. And so he did break the law. You possession of a large amount of marijuana in a state that thinks that's a criminal act, you broke the law. He's already dealing with the legal penalties of that. He's been arrested. He's done bond. He's got a court date. That process is rolling. If he had a violent crime, he'd be still, sitting he'd likely be sitting there waiting on his court date and not out on bond. And so I tend to just kind of lean on the legal process here and say, he is out on bond. He's apparently cleared himself with the disciplinary board, the UA disciplinary board. At this point, yeah, I think that he should be playing if he can, and let's figure out what kind of penalty he needs to deal with in the courts when that day comes, which will be 6 or 7 weeks or so from now. So yeah, you ask if he should be playing. I understand the pearl clutching about, oh, he just had so much marijuana in his house. I get that. But he's currently dealing through the process, and in this country, innocent until proven guilty is supposed to be a thing. I think he should play tonight if he's available.
All right, sounds good. All right, continue.
Do you think he should play?
I
know I just spoke a lot.
No, you're fine. No, I don't think he should play.
Okay.
Bottom line is, it's a felony in the state of Alabama. Nate Oates and Alabama suspended him from the team. He was removed from campus. He's suspended, like I just said, until the investigation ends, pretty much. That's what they said. And the investigation's not done. And if he travels here and plays, I just think it's kind of a super unethical kind of deal. But yeah, that's it.
There you go. So we'll find out what happens tonight. We'll be all over it at BamaCentral.com because it's going to be the most intriguing storyline of all of the 4 games across this evening Sweet 16 game. I want to move us forward, Theo and Hunter, back to Yaxel Lendeborg. We talked Yaxel a little bit with Theo yesterday, Hunter, and I asked him, how do you guard Yaxel Lendeborg? Well, I asked Nate Oates the same thing. And I asked Nate Oates about the recruitment of Yaxel because you remember in the transfer portal, Alabama was in on Yaxel for 3 hours. Like it was such a tiny amount of time that Yaxel and Alabama were linked to one another before Yaxel ended up at Michigan a day or 3 later. So we asked Nate Oates about recruiting Yaxel, the possibility of him coming to Alabama, and how the heck do you defend him? Well, the how do you defend him question went out of the window when Yaxel got on the microphone and said the exact opposite things that Nate Oates said about his recruitment. But then you had Dusty May backing up Nate Oates. So Nate says, oh, we were in contact. We realized we probably didn't have the resources, and so we didn't really chase it that hard. We just kind of moved on. Yaxel basically says, I wish they would have recruited me. I feel slighted by them for not recruiting me. I've got extra juice for this game to give them, show them what they missed out on, kind of an angle. And Dusty said, oh, well, don't tell Yaxel, but Alabama did try to recruit him out of the portal. And it's like, yo, man, you, Yaxel, were trying to say that Kentucky offered you $7 to $9 million. Mark Pope has since denied that. But I'll tell you this, if that's the offer that you turned down to go to Michigan, well, Alabama didn't have $7 to $9 million to try to recruit you with. What this sounded like, Theo, to me was Alabama called his agent and asked if he was interested, and the agent probably said, yes, at XYZ number, and Nate and the staff basically said, oh, we don't have XYZ number. Thanks for your time. And they never even told Yaxel that Alabama was on the line because Alabama didn't even have the starting point number to get him interested. Did you digest any of this yesterday? Just kind of because the room, the media room was at a nice calm 5 for most of the day. And all the way through Nate Oates' press conference. And then Yaxel gets on there and says this. And to me, the room went from a 5 to a 7, started buzzing. And then Dusty May got on there and said, oh, well, don't tell him, but Alabama did try to. And it went from a 7 to about an 8, 9. So the buzzing in the room was going nuts yesterday. What do you make of Yaxel saying, oh, I'm slighted by Alabama. I'm extra motivated for this game? Is it just the great athletes searching for a reason to be disrespected?
Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. If I were to speculate on that, I would probably land somewhere around where you did. Although, let's also consider that maybe if Alabama had allocated some money differently, then we're looking at a world where you can bring in a guy like Yaxel, right? I mean, I do probably agree with the idea that Alabama wasn't willing or didn't have the money to put to him. But I also think that maybe there could have been, and we've talked a lot about this transfer portal class, right, which has far and away just been a swing and a miss for the most part for Alabama. Well, maybe we could have prioritized different things and looked at, obviously hindsight is, hindsight makes everyone look like an idiot, but I do probably believe that Alabama's number with the way they tried to build this roster was nowhere near what Michigan was willing to pay.
Yeah. That was definitely probably the biggest story of the day.
Yeah.
So Joe was exactly right about the media room going from like a 5 to like a 7. Like I'm writing my own thing, and then I hear Yaxel say that, and just my eyes light up. Everyone's eyes light up. They look around. They're like, what? And then everyone changes their story. Joe had a story on Yaxel about defending him, as he said, and it was at like 800-something words, and it was about to publish it. And then he just changed the whole thing, rightfully so, because of what Yaxel said. It changed the entire angle. And it's kind of a weird situation. I mean, when in the offseason last year, I was saying, I was like looking at transfer portal targets, and everyone's saying, oh, Yaxel Lendeborg, this kid from UAB could be the guy. And then obviously he wasn't. He went to Michigan. And then we learned why he wasn't the guy, despite being this, I mean, not necessarily in-state guy, but someone who was in the state a year before. But it was kind of a weird situation there. But in terms of defending him.
Yeah, how do you, like, I asked Theo yesterday, just real quick, I asked him yesterday, and I said, it's either Bo Bowen or Amari Allen, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Like, so what do you think? What are we doing here?
From me. Yeah. Well, first off,
Coach DeCyber. defensive mastermind. What? Save us.
First off, last game against Texas Tech, the guy to guard was Christian Anderson, and he's more of a guard, and that's what Latrell Wrightsell did so well against him. It's not going to happen this game necessarily, as Yaxel's a forward. Latrell's probably not going to guard him, or at least not for long, because Yaxel's bigger than him. Makes sense. It comes down to Amari Allen and Taylor Bowen. Both of them have had their ups and downs this season, but Taylor's starting to get hot. Amari's was fine against Texas Tech, but he didn't end the season as well as we had hoped, especially after my feature. The first game after was good. After that. But, I mean...
This is the legacy game for him, playing in his backyard.
Exactly. You're playing in the Midwest. You're going against someone who is a unanimous first-team All-American. There's only 5 people in the country, or 4 others, who have that same status as him. And, I mean, I'm pretty sure it was Nimari Burnett. Used to play at Alabama, now he's at Michigan. You'll see him tonight. But I think after the round of 32 game, he called Yaxel the Dominican LeBron. So if you're associated with LeBron James, it's already kind of hard to say that you could be stopped. But Amari and Taylor are the key guys tonight, not for their offense, but their defense. We know what Alabama can do offensively, but they need to find a way to lock them down for 40 minutes, and that's pretty much an impossible task. But if they do something like that, then they got a shot at winning.
All right, Hunter. So he expounded on his answer yesterday about defending him.
Yeah.
And talked about how great teams, when you go up against great teams, you've got to decide what you're going to give up. And so it made me think about what happened 2 years ago against North Carolina, top seed. You let Elliot Cadeau take some threes, and he made a couple early and then started missing a bunch. And so it made me think about, okay, well, what is Alabama going to allow in this game? We've already talked about it this week. Elliot Cadeau has improved three-point shooting, so you're not just going to sag off of him. We all remember Namari is a pretty nice little three-point shooter when he's open, and so you're not just going to let him shoot either. So defensive mastermind, Hunter Decider, what do you give up against these Michigan Wolverines? Because you got to defend something, and you might need some extra help in the post with Ade Mara, and I think Maris Johnson is a load, and Yaxel is his own beast right there. What do you allow Michigan to do to say, hey, if you make or miss that, it's fine. That's the shot we want you to take. That's the kind of possession we want you to have. What are you trying to force Michigan into?
I think it's simple. You have to only really stop Yaxel. And the reason why it's only him is because I don't really trust Alabama to do the rest. They're bottom 10. I mean, you could look at all the efficiency numbers, and Alabama's improving and this and that. And they did do well defensively against Hofstra and Texas Tech.
But different.
Yes, and they're way different than Michigan. They're not nearly as good. And on top of it all, year in and year out, Alabama is one of the top teams offensively in college basketball in terms of points per game and just a bunch of other figures. But defensively, they are always bottom 10 in points allowed. Or I guess that would be top 10, whatever you want to call it. And this is a Michigan team that's top 10 in scoring. And if a Michigan top 10 scoring team is going against an Alabama bottom 10 defensive team, that's bad news already. Alabama's the underdog in this game for a reason. Obviously, they can win it. It's definitely possible. But they are the underdog for a variety of reasons, and their defense is going to play a huge role. And if they continue to do what they did against Hofstra, Texas Tech, again, totally different standards, then they have a shot. But you just have to start with Yaxel and just hope for a few misses like Elliot Cadeau did a while back.
Nate Oates and company have had a week now to prepare for this game. What do you think they've seen on tape? What are they going to allow Michigan to take in order to take away, maybe some more dangerous weapons? What do you think the defensive game plan is going to be tonight?
You allow them to shoot. It's easy. I mean, you make Elliot Cadeau and Amari Burnett make the shots to beat you. Like, quite frankly, if you get outplayed in the backcourt, if the guards going out and scoring on you is the reason you lose, then you probably weren't in a position to win either way.
Yeah.
You take the one part of the game that is your strength, right? Not that Michigan can't run up and down the court and run and gun and shoot and all that, because they can. You're Nate Oates, you believe your team can do it better. Anything that you can do to force Michigan into shots, even if they are, and this is one of the things that I've been thinking about, like, you're okay sometimes with, we're just going to sprint up and down the court with Michigan and we're going to make threes and they're going to make a bunch of threes too. The more three-point attempts Michigan takes to a certain extent, the better. As long as it is happening quickly, as long as it's happening in the same kind of rhythm that you're trying to play in, is my take on it. So it's going to be difficult because Michigan doesn't want to get suckered into that, right? They know that, yes, we can shoot, but we're going to dominate inside. Anything you can do to make Michigan forget that, even if it's sometimes daring guys to shoot, even if it's sometimes letting up a higher percentage three than you would sometimes like, especially early, to set a tone, I think Nate Oates is going to be okay with letting some of those shots fly.
All right, so I think something a little differently from both y'all. I think you're going to try to run Cadeau off the three-point line and make him drive, because I think when he's driving, he gets a little erratic as far as making decisions when bodies are all in the paint and when people are collapsing. I do think his three-point shot has improved. And so what I would suggest, and this coming from somebody who's never coached a basketball game in their life, but is to run Cadeau off the line, try to force him into driving and try to force him into ugly looks at the rim and box out and get the rebound. Basically, I think you have a decent chance of Cadeau trying to take the game on himself, saying, "Oh, I can get to the rim, I can get into the lane," and you're going to see missed floaters, you're going to see missed shots at the rim, you're going to see bad decisions trying to pass to Eddie Mara, trying to pass to Morris Johnson. I think that would be my starting point if I were Coach Oates.
Agreed. I get that.
All right, so we're right here at about 36, 37 minutes, and I am out of main topics for the main two from yesterday and setting up this game. Hunter, I want to ask you, well, if you've got any other big picture topics on this game, and same with Theo, and we'll get everybody to give a prediction and get out of here. Tommy Tidwell, I appreciate you hanging out with us on the Facebook machine. We talked about 15 minutes or so about Aden Holloway playing tonight, if he's going to fly up, if he thinks we're going to play, if he's not going to play, predicting his stat line, all kinds of things. The very first kind of 15 minutes of the show. So if you just scroll your line all the way back to about 6 minutes in after past the intro, you can hear all about our comments on Aden Holloway. Hunter, any big picture things we're missing from this Michigan game tonight?
Probably nothing for tonight, but I don't know. You'll probably discuss this in future podcasts, but I guess
Go ahead.
A real quick. Should Alabama lose, what happens next? Who goes? What happens with Holloway? What do we think here?
I think you'll see a lot of transfer portal activity. I think Holloway stays with the program for next year. But you'll see it'll just be another off season with the NIL and transfer portal, and you'll see my gut feeling says you'll see Keaton Bristow, Collins Onyeka both in the portal. I think you'll see Davion Hanna back. I think you'll see London Jemison back. I think you'll see Aden Holloway and Aiden Sherrill back. And everybody else, I mean, you've got graduation for Reitzel, Millett, and Williamson. So they're all gone. Bowen, I think you're trying to keep. I think you'd love to keep Jaleel Bethea, but I think that's pretty unlikely.
Yeah.
I think he's probably going to go to the portal. Phylon, NBA. Amari Allen, probably NBA, but maybe transfer portal for big bag somewhere else. And maybe stays as well. I think all three are pretty decent choices for Amari Allen. Is that everybody? I think that's about everybody.
Yeah, I think you got everyone.
Yeah, and that's just gut feelings.
What'd you say about Jemison?
Jemison, I think, is coming back.
Okay, yeah.
So we'll see. Theo, any other big picture thoughts ahead of Sweet 16 against Michigan?
No, I mean, look, at the end of the day, this is a matchup that Michigan is a better team. Michigan is built to win this game. Michigan is built to expose Alabama's flaws. And yeah, I mean, we talked a minute ago, I guess, just circling back to the conversation about how do you stop Yaxel, and is there anything you allow Michigan to take? And no combination of any of our answers works perfectly.
No.
That's the problem with this team, man. Like they are so good. And I was reflecting on it earlier. This would be the most impressive win of the Nate Oates era. That's where I'm at with this game right now.
I think that's dead on, and you're probably holding it up against the victory over number one North Carolina two seasons ago out in San Diego. All right, so it's time to make our predictions, but before we do, we need to remind you that the program is brought to you by Purple Turtle Roofing. At Purple Turtle Roofing, we're not just another contractor; we're your neighbor and your advocate when it comes to protecting your home or business. With years of hands-on experience, top-tier certification, and a commitment to excellence, we've built a reputation as Alabama's go-to roofing solution. We specialize in residential roofing, commercial roofing, emergency storm repairs, full-on roof replacements, insurance claim support, and more. You can visit them online at roofturtle.com or call them if you want to talk to a real person at 877-787-6635 today. They'll come out and give you a free roof inspection, let you know if you've got problems with your metal roof or your shingle roof. It doesn't matter what kind of roof you've got. Purple Turtle Roofing can give you the peace of mind and protection that you deserve. Check them out online today at roofturtle.com. Okay, business in. It's a Friday edition. Tonight will determine if we're doing a show tomorrow or not. Theo, I haven't even asked you if you're available, so it might just be a solo or a me and Hunter show. We'll find that out in just a little bit. But if Alabama wins, we want to break down the win and set up the Elite Eight matchup against either Iowa State or Tennessee. Nightmare scenario. But first, at 6:30 p.m. on TBS, Alabama takes on Michigan in the Sweet 16. The Michigan Wolverines are an 8.5-point favorite right now. They opened as a 10.5-point favorite. It has now been bet down to 8.5. A couple people betting on Alabama. Lord Kenny Pomeroy says Alabama will lose 91-83 tonight. So we'll see if the analytics man will be right. Theo Fernandez, age before beauty. Go right ahead. What do you think about this game? Final thoughts, and leave us with a prediction.
Yeah, I've been alluding to it all week. I think Michigan will win this game. Am I the authority on Alabama basketball after saying this team wouldn't even make the Sweet 16 for a month and a half? I don't know. But I do, with or without Aden Holloway, which I do think will be with. I stand by that, but I do think that Michigan is just built for success. I am going to give Alabama some credit in that I think we're going to hit the under 8 break of the second half, and Alabama will still have a realistic chance. Like, I think as far as comparing this to other games that I've seen this program play, I'd think 2024 Final Four against UConn, a game where you knew coming in Alabama's facing a team significantly better, but the Crimson Tide showed really a lot of fight in that one, right? I mean, you were really in that game late, played them pretty well. You walked out of that thinking, man, that was just a really good team that maybe overmatched us, but we hung in there. I'm going to go, I think this game will get up there in the final score numbers. I'm going to go Michigan 95, Alabama 82.
Very good. Michigan 95, Alabama 82 for Theo. Hunter DeCiver, is tonight the final night of Alabama basketball season?
Yes, it is. So I think this game kind of compares to last year's Elite Eight against Duke, where they got this superstar player, Yaxel Lendeborg, and then Cooper Flagg. But then he's got this crazy supporting cast. And last year, I'm looking at it, Cooper shot 6 of 16 from the field. It's not that great. And yet, Duke still won by 20. Michigan has that star power, not necessarily 5 first-round picks or something like that, like Duke kind of had, but they still have enough star power to win this game easily, even if Yaxel doesn't do well, because I still think that could be a good part of the game plan is to cover Yaxel, but they have too many weapons, and Alabama's not good enough on defense to get the job done. Offensively, whether or not Aden plays, I don't think it'll be that big of a factor in determining the outcome. I still think it's going to be a loss regardless. 95-82 was pretty on par with what I was thinking. So I'm just trying to think of like a somewhat different score. I'm going to go with 91 to, let's go with 79. Yeah, 91 to 79. I just think Michigan's too powerful for Alabama. I got to give Alabama credit. I'll just say in my own bracket, you guys could see it. I had Texas Tech winning that game. I just thought that without Aden Holloway and the poor performance against Ole Miss a couple games before, that it's going to lead into this one. I mean, obviously Alabama beat Hofstra by 20, but it was close for a while. Hofstra even had a 10-point lead at one point. But if Michigan gets a 10-point lead in this one, Alabama's not coming back. Simple as that. And yeah.
There we go. So two of our teammates on the Michigan Wolverines. I will stand alone. I will say that tonight will be a historic night and that Alabama will win. I just typed down 91-88 is kind of what's in my gut. Yeah, I just think that there's going to be we're going to walk out of this game thinking, holy crap, I never thought that Alabama could have done X or Y or whatever they're going to do on defense tonight. Not necessarily from an effort standpoint, but I believe that NATO will have a very interesting strategy defensively for this Michigan team. And I think that you've probably had all week to put it in and to game plan it. And so I think that Alabama's going to have something that Michigan's going to like. It will be a wrinkle for Michigan to deal with in the game, and we'll see if they can do that in game, make an in game adjustment. Obviously, they're extremely talented, and I do think those three forwards are incredible. But you get hot, and you believe in yourselves, then you can win. I know this team believes in themselves, and we know that if Alabama loses, Houston Millette may actually die tonight on the court. So, they'll give their all. I think the effort and energy will be there. And you add Aden Holloway last minute. What does that do from an emotional standpoint? Is it just worth 2 minutes at the very start of the game, or does that emotional lift carry the whole 40 minutes of, oh, we didn't think we were going to have our guy, but now we do, and now we can take down the big bad Michigan Wolverines. I think that Alabama will win. I think it's going to be close throughout. I won't be surprised if Michigan does win. I'm just trying to listen to my gut right here, and my gut does say that it's going to be a happy night for the Crimson Tide fans. And we'll see what happens in the United Center. It'll be there at 6:30. We'll have Katie Wyndham. Follow her at Katie Wyndham _ Hunter DeCiver at Hunter DeCiver, and myself at Joe Gaither 6. We'll all be in the United Center. Follow Theo Fernandez _ baseball. Auburn tonight.
Yeah, I think it'll be a really fun series. I have a renewed confidence in this team after seeing the fight and just the response in general to what really looked like a point where the season could go off the rails. So Tyler Fay, you threw a no-hitter last week. What do you have this week? Obviously not another no-hitter today, but if you go 7 innings, which I think is the standard for him, especially after what he's done, you give your team a chance. The bullpen really looked phenomenal over the weekend, the best it has all year. There's reason to believe that Alabama really could win this series against the 5th-ranked Auburn Tigers, a team that's been really good. And I will tell you, if you are listening to this and you're in Tuscaloosa and you're on the fence about going to tonight's baseball game, it is going to be one of the coolest sporting events I think we have ever seen, with the game going on and then screens set up all across the stadium to watch Alabama versus Michigan. You're watching with all these out. I just think, I'm excited to cover this game. I think the fan experience is going to be equally as insane for everyone in attendance. So show up to Sewell Thomas for what should be a big-time series between two teams that are playing great baseball right now.
I know they're calling it like a double feature, and you said it's going to have the basketball game on screens all over. Does that include the Jumbotron as well, or do you know? Or?
Yeah, so my understanding is that the Jumbotron, instead of between inning promotions and stuff, that they're going to be running the game.
That's great. Okay.
And they will basically they're going to have a massive screen in right field for all the students to watch.
Oh,
and then
nice.
they have along the first base line, like kind of the rally point area, they're going to have a bunch of TV screens set up for fans to kind of stand, sit in a place where they can watch both at the same time.
High energy at the Joe tonight.
Awesome.
So, yeah, look, get out there. I bet the tickets are not expensive at all. See Alabama take on Auburn. Weather probably better in Tuscaloosa than it is here in Chicago.
It's beautiful.
A little chilly tonight. Yeah, perfect. Perfect.
Yeah. It's been 82 and sunny all week. It's been the best week weather-wise we've had this year.
So get out to the Joe, hang out with Theo Fernandez, and watch Alabama basketball against Michigan with all of your Alabama Crimson Tide fans as you pull on the boys in Game 1 against Auburn. You can follow all our coverage at BamaCentral.com. So it's going to be a huge night on the website. If Alabama wins, we'll figure out a way to give you an episode tomorrow to set up the Elite Eight game. If Alabama loses, heartbreak that will happen. If Alabama loses, we will talk to you on Monday to wrap up this basketball season and really, really dive headfirst into spring football. So that's going to be the plan for the next day and a half. We hope that you join us on your favorite podcast platform. You subscribe to us on the Bama Central YouTube channel, and we will talk to you again very soon right here on the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central, BamaCentral.com.
Thanks for joining us on today's edition of the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. Keep up with Joe on all his social media pages at Joe Gaither6. Subscribe, rate, and review the show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and be sure to read us daily at BamaCentral.com.